other annual client meetings, this shouldn't be more than 3 or 4 hours. Just joking, just joking. Okay, so again, little housekeeping items. I'm Bobby Fazy, lead attorney at InSight Law. I'll close my door so not all the other team members have to listen to me out here. And we're going to be, today is the annual client meeting. It's amazing. It's our 14th annual client meeting. And we want to make sure that we keep these annual client meetings going, regardless of any type of issues as far as COVID or Omicron or any of the things, obstacles or challenges in trying to deliver, the planning issues. So we'll get started now. And basically the purpose of this meeting is really just to keep the plan updated, your estate plan updated, give you a legal update on what's going on. Congress keeps us busy. So I'll talk about what's going on with the laws, which you need to know with regard to the laws. I'll go over, first I'm going to go over the law firm updates and process, make sure everyone's clear on that. And then we're going to hit the changes with what we see, what's going on with Congress, what's going on in the estate planning world, what's going on with technology there. And so it's going to be a good way to update it. This is a bonus slide. So this is not in your handouts. I was thinking about this last night on, the perspective from the law firm. I look back over, actually look back over the past few years over at the annual client meetings just to see, how things have developed and what we're seeing on our end. So hopefully it helps you to see from the law firm's perspective what we're seeing. And so one issue that I've seen over the past 3 to 5 years, at least, even more, is that with regard to tax laws, is that it consistently changes. So we're consistent. Congress is consistent on that, but it consistently changes. So it doesn't stay stagnant, is what I'm saying. And so your plan needs to be updated if there are issues that impact it. For example, the estate tax, what issues that you need to be aware of? How do the IRAs and people passing the Secure Act and dealing with IRA beneficiaries, how does that impact my plan? So those things are all tied to estate planning, and we focus on those laws that just deal with that. So we'll give you an update on those issues. Healthcare issues, okay? Because of the COVID pandemic, over the past few years, I see that from our clients, and this, I guess if you're looking for the silver lining, is that people are focusing on their advanced medical directives or healthcare powers of attorneys more. If you remember, that's your legal document that designates your healthcare agent to make decisions for you when you can't communicate them to the doctor. And just making sure that, and from my side of it, I think that's good that we're raising those issues and people are asking about it. My goal is, from our side of things, is that if someone needs to make healthcare decisions for you and you're not able to do that, that we try to put them in the best possible position with our process and tools, that this is what they would have wanted in this situation. This is the type of treatment they would have wanted, okay? And so it's not just a legal document. Our goal, hopefully, is to facilitate a conversation with those key helpers, and we'll go ahead and reiterate how that can happen as well. Technology has been critical, okay? It's working now for us. It's essential in helping us get through difficult times and adapting. So, for those of you who have been with us, we're on year 14 of the update meetings. We used to do these in person, okay? And we will get back to that, or at least some type of hybrid version. But because of what's happened, we weren't able to meet in person, but the information is still essential. Life continues to go on. And so we wanted to make sure that the process we were able to deliver. And so, technology, either through video conferencing or through portals, has really been essential in keeping the law firm stable during these, I would say, volatile times. And then one of the things we have been doing more and more of are family meetings. And what I've learned, as we see the plans going all the way to fruition when people pass away and we're doing the administrations with the family, is that there's really a lot of, it's really valuable in creating, having that relationship with the family, if possible, having that communication with the law firm and being comfortable with our process. is really just essential in a smooth transition, just making sure that, everyone knows their role, and we're just seeing the plans work better. Okay, so these are my perspectives on it. I think we're on the right track, and we continue to get better. So back to the handouts. So the purpose of the annual client meeting, one of the purposes is you're teaching us about the family. Okay, so if you remember, your renewals came out in December of last year, and part of the renewal package is your asset review report. And the asset review report, I'll reference it later, I'll show you later, but basically is just an inventory of your assets. And that's an important thing to update on at least annually to make sure we have accurate value. So we're not worried about taxes on one end or Medicaid on the other, but that we're not playing Sherlock Holmes to go find everything on the administration if something happens to you. It cuts a tremendous amount of time and expense off the administration if we know where everything is at. So you're giving us that information and we're inputting that into our system on a consistent basis, okay? The other side of it is your estate planning review worksheet. That's your executive summary of your plan. That's giving me the update on your personal instructions, financial picture, personal instructions, consistent way of updating. Those are the two main tools, okay? And so consistently over and over again, I've seen the plans that work have these these 5 pillars is, hey, we have these 2 tools, one to keep the personal instructions updated, the other is the asset report to make sure we have the financial picture. The other 3 items we'll get into later, and we always filter it in through the programs, is just knowing when to reach out to the law firm and making sure that your helpers know what to do by utilizing the checklists and tools that we have. And so those are the main items there. Okay, so let me give you a quick firm update, what's going on with the law firm. We continue to grow, which is really good. It's important. We need to. I'm the lead attorney, Bobby Fazy. We do estate planning and business planning. That's our core competencies. I'd say about a 60 to 70% composition of estate planning clients, 30 to 40% on business planning. Wendy Masimer is our associate attorney. She also runs our settlement department and drafts a lot of the legal documents. And so Wendy's been doing a great job. She's a valuable asset to the firm. And then we've got Joel Keith, who is he's our kind of our business tax attorney, and he's there to come in on certain cases, advanced planning cases, or specific tax issues. Bill Dunker is our contracts attorney. He's also our Florida attorney. And Ed Clay is my successor attorney right now until our internal succession plan has been kind of formalized. We're getting close. He's an attorney in our national network of estate planning attorneys. I'm a teacher, I'm an instructor there. He teaches with me, and we have very similar styles, very similar practices, and he's agreed to take over my clients if I get hit by the bus, and I've agreed to take over his as well. Ginny Oliver, funding coordinator, does a great job of making sure and help following up on any of the asset titling items. By far, that is the biggest expense of the law firm, okay, is funding clients' plans and managing that. So it's really critical that you help her, and Holly Davis is also we have a junior funding coordinator, so it's that important. We have 2 positions just for funding, and that's just making sure all the assets are titled properly. So going through those asset reports on a consistent basis, I tell her, look, we want a piece of paper verifying this is in the right place. And so that's a high standard. So when they ask for something, please be responsive. We're just trying to make your plan work on that. Michelle Tice, she's our client services coordinator. Really, she has been, she's a tremendous asset to the firm as well. She's really brought everyone here right today. She handles my calendar, makes sure everything gets organized. And handles the phones and the like. It's really important. We want to have a person answering the phones. However, one thing you have to be aware of with regard to our process is if you're calling on Monday morning, don't expect us to pick up the phone on Monday morning, because what we do every Monday morning is a team meeting, okay, that usually lasts until about 11:30ish or so, okay? And so the purpose of that team meeting every week is we're all huddling up together to say, okay, what tasks are we doing this week? what issues are we resolving, funding issues, document production issues, and the like. And so we're working for you at that time, but most people think about stuff over the weekend and they want to know the answer, right on Monday morning or send it out. We'll get back to you. If you remember the way we communicate, I'll make sure we go that way. We're going to get back to you. We schedule phone appointments, so we're not playing phone tag, but we do need to make sure we have department meetings so that we get things squared away for you. Bonnie King is is a new team member from last year, added as an administrative support team member. She's doing a great job, and we're hearing great feedback from all of our team members for that. So that's, we're growing. On that side, we have resource partners. I'm also looking for this year. We're going to be we're focusing on trying to add another attorney. I forgot to add Austin Huppert on here. He's our law clerk. He's a third-year law student at Antonin Law School, formerly George Mason University, where I went. And so he's been doing great. He's coming up on his final year at Mason, and he's taking estate planning classes now. So these are resource partners that we see in our field that can help clients in a situation. We try to vet them. And so the goal is, hey, if you need a care coordinator or geriatric care manager, or we've utilized these people in the past, and we've gotten good feedback. I've interviewed them. Allegiance Home Care is more on home care. If you're looking for long-term care, someone to come to your home to help you, that's one of those places. Capital Caring is a hospice organization. A Family Tie is Peggy Brita. She's really great at she's navigating the assisted living facilities and who's doing what and what's out there. The update on the Vernava is that she's continuing to grow as well. She's almost 6 years old, and so just growing into a lovely child, and almost an adult now, coming soon. So she'll be driving, but she's enjoying the snow and the like out there. Okay, so like I was saying, for you, the part of that is what I found is helpful for the firm and for the clients is that I want to make sure you know that we're here for you and how you can communicate with us. I want to make sure that we're responsive. You just need to know what are the communication channels. Phone appointments, they're part of the maintenance plan. They're no additional charge, and we get them scheduled within 48 hours of your call or your request for it. Obviously, if it's an emergency, you're going to get bumped up the queue. But basically, I just have specific times, and all of our team members, if it's a funding issue, you go to the funding department. You need to talk to me. We'll get certain times during the week. And so that we're not playing phone tag, I know the issue, and it's very efficient. Emails, responsive to emails, same timeline, because we have a queue, okay? And so don't think that we're not responsive. We're just answering your items in queue. Obviously, again, emergencies get bumped up. The website has a lot of information. We're in the middle of doing some work to it. I'll show you what's going on. It's not complete yet, but we're working on making it more user-friendly. The portal is one of our main items that we're able to now do things paperless, and it's helped tremendously ease the financial burden on the law firm, and also help keep the process going. The annual client meeting is today, so it's another way to communicate. You can give us we're going to give you a client response form, fill that out, type in the chat, and let us know if there's anything we can do on that end. The client update program, we're trying to update on a consistent basis all the legal documents, okay? Family education programs are just different topics that I see that are out there that are relevant, and we just sprinkle them throughout the year. So one of the things I was looking at is the Secure Act, which dealt with IRAs. It now has a couple of years under its belt, and there's been some things that there may be a time where we do a focus program in the summer on just, hey, on IRAs, what's the latest and greatest on the Secure Act and how that impacts beneficiary designations on your plan and what you're trying to do there. The newsletter, personal counseling reviews, when you have a bigger issue to deal with and you need to kind of sit down with us either through Zoom or just think through. And then the family meetings are additional. So those are ways to communicate Some are at no additional charge, most of them, but if you need to do deeper dives on personal counseling reviews or family meetings, those will be an additional fee, typically $500 for those as a flat fee. But we're trying to be, catch all of your needs through all those other items, okay? And so because things change, and I'll tell you the things that, that change, then it's a way for us to update the documents, update your plan on an efficient basis and not get too out of touch with the laws and your personal instructions if we're updating this on a 2 to 3 to 4 year basis, and that keeps the plan up to date. So making sure that you know how to update is important. Okay, so just kind of a review of that is, updating your plan, why we do it, so that it can address changes in the law, changes in your personal situation. And then family meetings, those are something that we found have been valuable. So number one option is your client update program it's our way of updating your plan. We do this in group format, where the education is provided ahead of time on here's the updates on the law. Here's what you need to know with regard to the law. We used to do these live. We're going to get back to that soon with regard to the education and the signing. But now we're doing the education on it through virtually. Here's the issues you need to be aware of. And then you come in to do the signing. And the estate planning review worksheet is a way for you to tell us what your personal changes are and to confirm, yep, they got all the personal changes. They just put the legal updates in. And so it's the most efficient way to do it. It's the best way to update. And because we're able to leverage economies of scale and able to update a lot of the plans. And so if it's your year to update, we'll send you an invitation. You actually have to register for the event when we send it to you, and then you'll receive that EPRW, or Estate Planning Review Worksheet is the acronym, that you need to send to us so that we can draft any personal changes in. If you are married, both people need to attend. So we've had problems in the past where only one spouse has attended, but both of your legal documents are intertwined if you're married, and so you have to sign each other's, and so it just increases the time and expense on our end. So that's the best way to do it. Most people are doing that, and you'll get invited, and we just keep updating, and that's the routine. If you have a bigger issue that you need a personal counseling review with an attorney to think through the issues, okay? And so it's recommended, and that would be a separate flat fee, $500. We sit down, we go through things. And then the way you do it is you request the meeting. We'll go through the meeting, make sure we got all the issues. We'll draft the documents. And then you'll come in if you're married with a spouse, and you'll review, sign, and we'll update it that way. The third way is a word processing amendment. There's not a big issue where you need to sit down with an attorney. You're just changing names, addresses, percentages. That is, you just basically would make the changes on your estate planning review worksheet. There's no additional charge for doing that. You send it to us, we make the updates, you come in, and there's just a signing meeting, okay? There's typically not an attorney there. You're just signing the updates, just a word processing amendment. So no additional charge, that's part of the deal. But if it's been more than 4 years since you've updated the plan, and you're coming in like 5 years later to say, I want to make these changes, there's a lot of updates in the trust documents. There's a lot of education on here's what we put in there and why that we do at each client. So the education is important. And so we find we're just re-educating you on things. And so for us to sit down with you and go through that with an attorney to do that, if you haven't updated in 4 years, then or more, then we're going to need to get you restarted. Okay. The special delivery option is for those who are not physically able to attend to sign the updates. You have a disability or something along those lines. So then it's just a new normal. We just got to figure out, okay, if this person's here, how do we keep updating the plan and making it efficient for both sides? And so we need to sit down with the client and kind of think through, okay, who's doing what? Is there going to be a helper coming in for you? Do we need to make special arrangements for the signing? So once we know what the update is for, then we say, okay, here's how you would do this. Here's the fees that would be associated with the special delivery option for you. And so the disability process, if just to let you know, we have, clients are becoming disabled. If they do become disabled, so the things that we do on our end is we will Let me share my screen again. What we do on our end at that family meeting is we say, okay, who's receiving a client a copy of any of the mailings, typically through email now? Is it the client? Is it a spouse? Do we have a helper? Maybe a sibling or a child or a family member or a friend that will help getting you the documents executed. And then what's the next meeting they'll be attending so that we can make sure that they're taken care of? Are they going to go through the web or in person? The signing procedure, is it going to be mail? Is it going to be someone going to come into the office, or is it going to be a digital signing? So we've learned, okay, as a business owner, we've learned, hey, we want to make sure that if a client becomes disabled, that they're getting the updates. But it was really, it was basically pulling the team into different directions. So with this process, it's very clear, okay, if we have an issue with not being able to update the plan because of a disability or not able to come in, let's make sure we get that covered and addressed ahead of time, focused, and then once we have a new process set up for that client, then we're good to go. And our process, just big picture on that, is this. So if there is a disability or issue, let us know, because the earlier that we know, then that gives us the ability to make changes and give you more options. The Disability Teleconference is something that we would do if we needed to get a doctor's opinion that you're being disabled or not. And we get the disability panel convened, and their only job is to determine if you can manage your financial assets or not. Okay, ways to stay out of court causing tremendous cost and expense or frustration of the plan because people can't get to the assets when they need to. So these are real world solutions to that. And just being familiar, the main thing you need to know is if there is an issue, let us know, and then we'll address it ahead of time and make sure that we've got items covered. Let me make sure I'm sharing. So let me make sure that you all know about the portal and the technology. I think most people are doing that. So the portal, let me pull up the website. So the website looks a little bit different now. And so there's a home page, insightlaw.net, but instead of that orange box, there's a client helper and beneficiary dashboard that you would click, and that gets you to this page. The portal is the one thing that really has been, like I was telling you before, great way to communicate with the firm. Now we're storing the legal documents there. And so we're doing that as the project. We're doing that project right now, is kind of migrating the data there. But everyone has a portal. And on the portal, there's a section that says documents. And so that lays out for like the annual client meeting, what we have here: annual renewals, client update program, your estate planning documents, right? Accessible 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And so great way, right, to communicate and be able to handle those items. The other item that I wanted to show you on the website is the DocuBank. And so make sure, if you don't know, DocuBank, right, that is the provider that we use, the vendor that we use to store your medical directives digitally, right? And this, remember COVID, people were asking more about the healthcare. No, so you just get comfortable. This is how I access my healthcare directives 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. I don't need to sign a new directive at the facility, or if I'm not able to, right? How do you get a hold of it? So everyone should have a DocuBank card, and if you don't, let Michelle know, and we'll make sure that you get one. It looks like this. I'll show you one that's on the website. And I tell people, sandwich that card between your driver's license and your health insurance card, because if you get into an accident, have to go to the hospital or something, and you're not able to communicate, they're going to want to know who you are, right? And if you can pay. And that card is saying my medical directives are here. The item is my legal documents are here, 24 hours, and I'll notify your emergency contacts. There's a member number and PIN number on your card. And then, And that's all you really need to pull the directives down. If you wanted to look at more items, then you would sign in with your password. Your initial password is your zip code. You can change it at any time. But that's the idea with regard to it. I'm going to show you a full login so people can see it. And I know people are asking questions. I will definitely address those towards the end of the program. So keep the questions coming. I'll make sure I go through all of those. So on the DocuBank site, and making sure that you all are seeing that, I can print the card. The card, it looks like this. So for you to see it, that's the card, how it looks like, and you have one. And you can always access it online if you want to. But you just print the documents, okay? Or the card has an 800 number that you can give to to somebody, and they can call it in, and they can get them faxed or emailed directly if someone just pulls them down. So it says view print documents. That's it. You just view and print documents, and then they come on, and then they can be opened, and there you go. And so I wanted to show you the full login, because if I'm on medications and I put that in there, we can have that as part of the package. Is this person's on these medications? So my dad had a form of Parkinson's called Lewy body disease that caused dementia. And he was on several different medications and trying to keep all those straight. And so I just thought this was a really cool, good tool, valuable tool for the families that if you have a loved one that is on different medications, rather than try to rack your brain, it's all there. This is the dosages, the time. It's all part of the deal. I'll show you where you can go. But then the medical directive is there, and then you've got your directives, and you can have your healthcare checklist as incorporated as part of that. And so if you have a medication list, there's a medication list, and you can update or upload the medication. And the dosages and the like, or your medical snapshot. The history is also very helpful for people. So if you have different doctors, specialists, any vaccination histories, those types of things, that can be put in there. So utilize it. It's out there for you. At the minimum, the DocuBank card is something that I just want to make sure people are aware of it, that you have those directives, and that's on the healthcare side of the equation. All right, so with that being said, I talked about the portal. We're trying to save paper, your asset review reports. We don't print them anymore, so that's good. It saves us time and money. Just upload it to your portal. IT security, again, I'm not going to go through security. We invest a lot in security. Action Step is our provider that uses Amazon Web Services infrastructure. You can go to that website to learn about that instruction. If you want to look more detailed information, email Michelle, she'll get it to you. We invest a lot in that because we understand how important that is. Technology, so we went through the website. There's different items there that you can look at for videos and the like on different topics. As far as the referrals, we're getting more referrals from our clients. So that's really been helpful for us in difficult, different time. It's harder to market and get out there when people don't go out as much. And so it's really been something that's been helping us, and helping the team. That's all the process and firm updates. Let me tell you what's going on with the laws now. Okay. So with that being said, the current law with regard to estate taxes is as follows. There is an estate tax coupon amount on a federal level. I'll talk about state laws, but it's as high as it's ever been. Okay. Every individual has $12 million and $60,000 worth of coupon before there's a federal estate tax due. Okay, so for married couples, your plan's covering $24 million, right? $24,120,000. And so that covers a lot of people. The current law, though, says that coupon goes down to $5 million automatically. Okay, it sunsets January 1, 2026, unless Congress does something. Okay. I think Congress is famous for doing nothing, but that is the law. So just don't think that, so 5 million is still a big number, but you just need to be aware that's a big difference between 12 and 5 million. And there's a tax on anything over that 40%. For 2022, you can gift anybody up to $16,000 a year. It used to be $15,000 way back ago. It used to be $10,000. People kind of knew that. Hey, you can gift anybody 10. Now it's $16,000 a year. It's indexed for inflation, and that's kind of a de minimis amount that the IRS says we don't care about that amount. And then if non-citizen spouses, there's a different rule on what you can pass away with. They're worried about money going to a non-citizen spouse and then leaving the country, and then the government doesn't get their estate tax money. So they say, oh no, if you're a non-citizen, you don't get the $5 million, you get $164,000. And there's a whole bunch of other rules if you want to try to avoid that. We're not getting into those issues now. And then the standard deduction from an income tax side of things is $12,550. And married filing jointly is $25,100. All right, so that's kind of that's the current law as far as the estate tax side. I give you a basic deduction amount as well. Let me give you a history that I found. I put some different slides together. One of the summits I went to in the fall really gives you a good overview and summary. I'd be happy to send it to you if you want. I'm going to put it on the screen now, but I'm going to give you kind of the update and show you. That tells you everything that happened last year. I'll get you through the end of September, and then I'll update you what happened with the House in November and where we stand with the Senate on items. Okay, and so federal income taxation brackets, they are for 2021. They didn't change from the prior year. The top tax bracket is 37%. Top capital gains tax bracket, 20%, 15% if you're not in the top tax bracket. So those are the federal income tax bracket for individuals. A lot of people get this confused. Federal income tax brackets for trusts and estates. This is not your trust that you create during your lifetime, not your grantor trust. This is when after you pass away, and if you keep the trust open without, and it has its own taxpayer number, then there's different rates. And again, I'm not going to go through that now. The federal wealth transfer tax basic exclusion amount. So this is how the exclusion amount, that's your coupon, has kind of gone up through the years. Okay, 2022, like I told you, is $12,060,000. It's going to go back to this. Okay. Unless Congress does something, January 1, 2026. All right, so the first legislation, Consolidated Appropriations Act, passed at the end of 2020 in December. It was really addressing the COVID relief. It was a $2.3 million tax bill. Really addressed the items with regard to the COVID related. There are things that dealt with educators as far as income tax deductions for teachers. They can now deduct things that were used to protect with regard to COVID spread, disinfectants and the like. There was charitable donations for 2021 only. You could contribute $300 per taxpayer for charitable contributions to a public charity, and $600 for joint filers. All right, and those are just a special rule for 2022, 2021. The other tax provisions of note in that bill was the medical expense floor permanently set at 7.5% of your AGI. This is what you can deduct for medical expenses. You have to get over 7.5% of your adjusted gross income before your medical expenses become a deductible expense on your income tax returns. The other one of note is if you had to cancel, if there was any type of cancellation of debt of your mortgage for your personal principal residence, there was an exclusion for any of the cancellation of indebtedness through 2025, and capped at $375 for single filer, $750 for married filing joint. And then I'll talk about the business meals furnished by a restaurant. They're trying to incentivize people to go out and go to restaurants, and so they're giving you a bigger business deduction for business meals if you actually go and utilize the restaurants. So the business meals, if you're someone who deducts, a business owner that deducts meals, what's not deductible is now you can't deduct business like tickets to events, sports tickets to events, concerts and the like, the transportation, club memberships, and then they say meals not separately charged during entertainment, which means basically if you go to a ball game, if you go to the concession stand, that's separately charged. So if you go to the meal, you can do that. But if it's some type of package with a ticket, you can't deduct it. If you are a business owner and you have meals on the business premises, sometimes we'll do that for our team members, then that is 100% deductible if provided by a restaurant. You can deduct snacks and beverages at the office. Meals during business travel, 100% deductible. Meals at a conference, 100% deductible. Client business meals, but that was funny. If provided by restaurant, okay, that's one of the rules. Taxpayer is present and not lavish or extravagant. So if I'm taking a client out to a lunch or maybe a financial advisor out, I have to be present there. So I guess I would, rather than sit at a different table, I'm not really sure what they mean by that. So anyway, that's the deductions if that is of interest to you. And that was in the Coronavirus Act. The next one that was laid out was the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. That one was, if you saw, they had these recovery rebates if you were in the tax brackets below the $150,000 tax brackets, because then it gets phased out, but you would get a rebate, and then expanded child tax credits. For kids 0 to 5, you get a tax credit. And again, those have phase outs as well. They had student loan forgiveness, fully excludable if forgiven before 2025. Okay, so that was the law. Then this is what happened next, this is proposal. So these are not legislation. So then the Ways and Means Budget Reconciliation recommendations were they wanted to raise the corporate tax rate, okay, increase in corporate tax rates. And they wanted to limit some exclusions on items. So let me kind of go through some of these. So they wanted to increase the capital gains rate. That kind of scared a lot of people, to 25% from 20%. And they also want to apply a 3.8% net investment income surcharge to active business income. So, when you have, this is the 3.8% net investment income tax, that's on passive investments now. If you have investments in the market, and you hit certain levels of taxable income, then you'll have a 3.8% additional charge. But if you have an S corporation, I happen to have an S corporation, a lot of business owners have an S corporation, you did not have to pay that 3.8% tax because that was active income. You're actively involved in the business. It's not an investment, you're working in it. They want to apply a 3.8% tax if your taxable income is over $400,000 or $500,000 for joint filers. So S corporation owners basically get a 3.8% tax increase. Also, LLC members as well. So you just got to be aware of that. That's not law yet, but that did survive, and I'll show you what did survive the second round of. So this is the initial proposals that were laid out there. And they wanted to, there's a 199A special deduction for pass-through entities. And again, beyond the scope, it's just letting you know that they wanted to put a cap on that in the new law. And if you are ultra wealthy, if you are making more than $5 million for joint filers, then there's a 3% surcharge on amounts by which your modified adjusted income exceeds that. Okay, that was the initial kind of proposal that was out there. They also wanted to reduce the estate tax coupon to $5 million January 1 of 2022. And if you can see here in the red, there's a 6.02 million that says there. So it goes back to the 5 million number, but the legislation says it's 5 million index from the date that it was. So they're estimating that 5 million, if we went down to 5 million back to January 1, 2022, then it would be a $6 million coupon per person. This other items, there's not major things that I need to get into with that. Okay, so what the good news was, a lot of people were worried that there's going to be a repeal and a stepped up basis, which means that when you pass away, if you bought a stock, let's say Tesla stock, right? You bought it at 100 and you die with the stock in your name, it's not in an IRA or anything like that, then the stock is worth 900 when you die, and you don't sell it, that stock gets a $900 stepped up basis for your beneficiaries. And if they sold it the next day for 900, there's no capital gain. That's one of the big, I guess, that's one of the big IRS, I guess, I don't know if it's not a loophole, but that's just been out there for so many years. And they wanted to make death a realization event. So saying basically, no step up in basis. It's as if you sold all of your assets at death, and we're going to give you an exclusion of about $1 million, and anything over that is subject to a capital gain. That's what they were talking about. Okay. And that's how some of the items, how some of the laws get passed, is that we'll talk about it initially, and then a couple repetitions will go, at least my experience, and then it'll get more momentum. Didn't get momentum yet, but that was one of the items that we were looking at. Okay. And so that was the issue there. And then you're still going to get a preferential rate for long-term capital gains and dividends. They were tinkering with, hey, let's move that up to your ordinary income tax rate if you make more than $1 million or not. They also, a lot of our real estate investors utilize what's called a like-kind exchange, 1031 exchange, where if it's an investment property, you can sell it, and without realizing any gains, if you can plow those monies into another property, investment property within certain timelines, you can defer the tax. And so a lot of our clients do that. They actually roll their investment properties into different investments, and then when they pass, all that real estate gets a step up in basis. Okay. And so they wanted to get rid of that. That did not have any legs. So there's no issues on that. That's not in the legislation that's out there. So that was the good news. And so where we are at now is the following. So I know that was a lot, but basically current law is there hasn't been any changes, okay, from last year. We had the American Jobs Plan in March. We had the Americans Family Plan. And then, and that's what we just talked about, the increase in capital gains rate, the limited step up in basis. And then we had the elections where the Democrats held on to their majority in the November elections. House Democrats reelected Nancy Pelosi to another term. And so, basically, the House is control of Democrats. There's no political biases here. I'm just telling you what's going on. And so the House passed in November of last year, and that bill kind of was toned down a lot. And that happened after a lot of the elections where things were happening where there may not be, like the gubernatorial elections in Virginia. Was a big one where the bolder proposals that were set forth in the summer and the spring were toned down a lot. So House Bill 5376 that was passed in November had no tax rate increases. At 15%, it has a minimum 15% corporate minimum tax across the board. The state and local tax relief that was limited to $10,000. That's what your real estate property taxes, which you can deduct, right? State and local. They wanted to raise that. Okay. They want to raise that and increase it to $72,500. That would be deductible. That helps people who have real estate taxes that are really high, that are more than $10,000. That helps that. There's a new 5% surtax. This is in the proposed legislation on high income individuals, like we talked about. 10 million if married. So I wrote down 5 million before. 10 million if married, $5 million if you're an individual. And so that is that's a pending legislation. Another 3% surtax if you're ultra, if you're over 25 million, and then 12.5 million if you're single. There's items for trusts or estates. Like I said before, these don't apply to your trust typically. Most of the trusts that we utilize, unless it's a specific situation, which you would know and counsel on ahead of time, they're considered grantor trusts, which means from an income tax perspective, it's as if you are the taxpayer. So all those other rates apply. It comes down to these trusted estates, like if there's a probate and we have to set up an estate and there's an estate checking account or investments, or there's a trust that's passing on after death that we're utilizing and we're not using one of our special tax provisions. So those are unique situations, and you'd be counseled well ahead if those issues would be addressed. We would definitely reach out to you. So does not apply to grantor trust. The qualified small business stock exclusion, this is a very specific exclusion for those people that it applies to. They want to eliminate, there's a benefit if you have small business stock, if you have a business owner. It's a very specific exclusion. Again, if this resonates with you, we'll give you more information on it. I'm just giving you the bullet points on the items that are out there. So this is the big one, I think, that's still in the legislation, is this 3.8% tax. Is that the bill would extend the 3.8% tax to all trade or business income. So right now, there's a 3.8% net investment tax on passive investment earnings, but now they want to add that to active earnings. So S corporation owners and the like will pay an additional 3.8% if you're over that $400,000 threshold for single filers, 500 for married filing jointly. So that was the House legislation. House controlled by Democrats now. On the Senate side, Democrats won control of the U.S. Senate as well. And these were from the 2020 election. So they're coming up again. The midterms this year. And so that's what the backdrop is we've got these midterm elections, right? And we have some people that, that are familiar with what's going on in Congress. They say, really, depending on what happens in the midterms is where the legislation is going to go, Bobby. And so if the House and Senate are still controlled by the Democrats, then we're going to see a lot of these provisions go through. But if it gets split again, then there's going to be probably a stalemate, right, they say, or some more reconciliations with regard to it. But currently, Senate, the bill is in the Senate. Senate is controlled by the Republicans because there's a 50-50 tie. Vice President comes to take, the Senate is controlled by the Democrats right now. I don't know if I said that properly. And so right now, that bill is in the Senate. Okay. And so that's where we're at. There's a lot of stuff there, right? But basically, nothing has been passed. The main things that are out there are dealing with these items right here. Okay, that's what's on the table right here. Are these bullet point items that are on the side, and then that 3.8% tax for the active trades or businesses. If you live in a state with a state estate tax, here are the states that have the state estate tax. These are applicable to you. So the state estate tax says we don't care what the feds say with regard to what you pass away with. This is what, if you live in our jurisdiction, we're charging you this. And the rates differ, but they're usually between 16 to 20%, depending on the jurisdiction that you're in. And just be aware that even if, so for example, even if you're in a jurisdiction that doesn't have an estate tax, but you own property in a jurisdiction that does, you got to be sensitive to that, because they're going to try to reach in and get the estate tax side of things. The planning opportunities, again, for those people that are subject to the estate tax, for these estates that are greater than $5 million, $10 million estates, things that we're doing are intra-family loans. There's you can instead of gifting, you can loan family members because interest rates are at historic lows. They're starting to creep up a little bit. Installment sales to a grantor trust. These are selling assets to an irrevocable trust. That's still a grantor trust, but there's ways that you can do it and remove things from the estate. There's something called a GRAT, a grantor retained annuity trust, and charitable lead trusts are out there as well. We've done a few of the charitable lead trusts where people have sold maybe their businesses or had a big liquidity event. It's a way where you can get an income tax deduction that offsets the gain in the same year, and then provide something to charity, and then also there will be an income interest that goes to charity, and then there's a remainder that would go back to your family. Again, my point of it is not to go through these in detail. It's just these are things that we're seeing that if you are interested, or reach out to us, we'll discuss it further. The other big item is digital assets. Okay, so your asset review report handles all of your physical, your assets with financial accounts, your real estate, your bank accounts, your investment accounts. But think about all your usernames, think about all the online accounts you have. But first, I want to be clear, we don't want your usernames, we don't want your passwords. But when you pass, we got to figure out if your Amazon account gets shut down, or if you've got everything on autopilot where it's going to really, basically disrupt the family if we have to shut down the account and do it all over again. So does the account get transferred or deleted? Or your emails, do those get deleted or transferred? Or your photos, right? Your music, all those items, these are things that have to be dealt with on administration, okay? So these are your digital assets. I showed Virginia here. Most states are following suit where you can basically appoint a digital executor for your estate. And now those financial companies, those online companies will now honor those wishes if you have the proper wording in your documents and instructions. So what we've done is we partnered with Directive Communication Services, and they base this DCS, okay? And it's a way for you, and so because when you're going on to the different websites, you just add the accounts to your list of assets that we're inventorying. And then once you go put your Amazon account on there, they're going to ask you, do you want it to be deleted or transferred? So there's a little dialogue screen. So then when you pass, we can print that report out so that we're not missing any of the digital assets as well. No usernames or passwords. Again, on our website, there is a video, and I think someone asked about videos on how to access the portal and a user guide. Be happy to do that. We do have some materials for that. But for DCS, okay, it's just access DCS digital assets. You can go there. There's a video. And if there's further questions, obviously contact the law firm. But again, getting the plan tighter, right? We got all the personal instructions updated, got all those assets. Okay, what about all those online accounts? If you have a domain name and that maybe there's some money that's worth to that, right? A website address, all right? Who's renewing it? Is it supposed to be renewed? Those types of things. Does it get transferred over? The DocuBank side of things, I already went through. And so just make sure you know where your DocuBank card is and what it is used for. All right, so that's the legal update. That's going on with the laws. Every year, as part of the InSight law, we always announce what the fees will be, if there's any fee increases for next year. There's not going to be in your annual membership fee. The purpose of the InSight law legal services fees are we reinvest the renewals back into the firm. We're adding team members, right? We're investing in technology, new services offered, and a new education and library offering. So investing back, getting better, trying to get tighter with regard to the process. There's no increase for 2023. But again, that's what the deal is. And it really helps if we have referrals from our clients. That really helps take the pressure off any increase on the fee side of things. But we're just doing this to keep up with inflation and the like. I know I was listening to the news today. For those of you who are the market has been volatile lately for those of you who watch that or the like. So the Fed is meeting today on interest rates. So that's an interesting kind of discussion. And, the market seems to be in tune and react to that side of things. So again, all of this is fluid. And, from our side of it, we just want to make sure that if there's an estate planning issue, an item, that we've got that covered and addressed, and we have a stable process on that with all that volatility going on out there. The education program for this year, the things that I'm trying to focus on, the main kind of core items that we have out there are, number one is, I call them nuts and bolts now, nuts and bolts 1, 2, 3, and 4. But really, the nuts and bolts one is the kind of the 911 program. I do that the Saturday before Thanksgiving every year. Clients should come to that and their helpers once every 5 years to keep the information fresh. This basically lays out what you need to know if someone dies or becomes disabled, the 911 items, okay? And if you can't come to that, if you can't come to it live, I have it on our website, and it's on the page. It says required training and 911 info. So that makes the plan go smoother. Remember, I was telling you that when someone passes away, if there's a relationship with the family or the helpers, they know our process, they know what to do, or they have an idea of it and they stick to it, things go smoother. So this is one way to do it, okay? The other way is that family meeting, where that's more of a direct meeting with just the family, not in a group presentation. And so that's another way to do it when we talked about that family meeting side. If you need a deeper dive, or you're dealing with a loved one's death or a disability, that's the 2 and 3 where I go into the steps, what we do, okay? And then 4 is for the beneficiaries, is if there's some wealth to protect, how do I run these things to keep the asset? But the biggest benefit, one of the biggest benefits of the trust is if there's something to protect, after you pass, you can leave it to your beneficiaries and it's not subject to their creditors, but they've got to do certain things. So that really helps explain that, those points with regard to it. So those are the basic kind of calendaring items. And then for our clients that are married couples where one spouse has passed away, we're focusing on a survivor support program. That's just dealing with there's different issues that that widows or widowers are dealing with. That's going to be August 17th. If that applies to you, you'll get an invite for that. But we've got enough clients on that side now that we just do a specific program for them. The typical client update programs that we have, that we're updating your legal documents, that'll be from July through September this year. And that is, you'll get an invitation if you have that. And so I heard, I also saw a question, are we going to 2 to 3 years? So now, especially with the technology and the live events, and we found that we're moving to 3 years is more efficient in spreading things out. And that's kind of where things will change. If there's a major issue, like if they overhaul the whole tax system in this next legislation, then we'll obviously do some more aggressive updating. But we found that we just basically have now got to a point where we can do it pretty consistently, cover all the issues on a 3-year type of cycle. So those are the programs. The one that's the Saturday before Thanksgiving this year, that's the nuts and bolts one. That'll be a hybrid program. Maybe it may be live with a Zoom component, just depending on where we are with all the healthcare issues that are out there. One item that I wanted to address also was just legacy. So again, we cover the taxes. Everyone gets kind of focused on taxes. We want to make sure the documents are updated according to your instructions. We want to make sure the assets are titled right. So we've got all the kind of the load-bearing spokes. What I found also that really families and the beneficiaries like is if there's a way to capture kind of that non-material wealth, then that provides some, that's pretty powerful. Okay, if you get it. It doesn't resonate with everyone. Okay, but this is more about life lessons and values. And I just wanted to kind of open that up to you. These are kind of customizations and things. These are kind of one-offs that you can do. But I want to give you some ideas. One of the things that one of the conferences I went to, one of the groups I belong to, is called Purposeful Trust. And these are basically attorneys that are focused on making that trust, not only efficient from the tax side of things, funding side of things, but let's try to get, make it as good as possible with regard to, let's try to pass on the values too. And so one of the things that I went to, I thought this poem was good and kind of the exercise that was out there. So I could show you. The poem is called The Bridge Builder. And so I'll go ahead and read it to you. Obviously you can read it yourself here, but I'll go ahead and read it to the client base. It's by Will Allen Dromgoole, and it goes like this. An old man going a lone highway came at the evening, cold and gray, to a chasm vast and deep and wide, through which was flowing a sullen tide. The old man crossed in the twilight dim. The sullen stream had no fears for him, but he turned when safe on the other side and built a bridge to span the tide. Old man, said a fellow pilgrim near, you're wasting your strength with building here. Your journey will end with the ending day. You never again must pass this way. You've crossed this chasm deep and wide. Why build you the bridge at eventide? The builder lifted his old gray head. Good friend, in the path I have come, he said, there followeth after me today a youth whose feet must pass this way. This chasm that has been not to me, to that fair-haired youth may a pitfall be. He too must cross in the twilight dim. Good friend, I'm building the bridge for him. And so to me, it just, I think in your estate plan, it's a gift that you're providing to whoever your beneficiaries are. And I think in any of the best gifts, having a little of that personal touch to it goes a long way. And so this is one exercise that kind of incorporates, okay, here's the concept. How do we, build in some of those he calls it guidance and guidelights, kind of guiding, help pass. And so these are ways that you can think through. And these are just things you would write down, or we could capture it in an audio or a video. And again, if it resonates with you, reach out to us. We can do some specific planning, or it could just be as simple as you answer these questions. So one is, what are the key lessons I've learned along my life's journey, which might make the journey you or your descendants will take easier or more satisfying or meaningful? Maybe recommended points of interest, things I did, habits I formed, and traditions I honored or created, which I would recommend to you. Hazards and detours, mistakes I made, or situations I would avoid at all costs if I could live longer, live life over, and what I've learned from them. These are, one of the questions would be like, what was your best investment you ever made? What was the worst investment? Those are some typical questions with regard to that. Favorite quotes or saying from my parents or other family members and people I admire. So when you get quotes from generations above you, that really kind of is powerful to the generations down below. So if you think about grandparents' quotes down to your grandchildren, if your grandchildren, that connects a lot of generations. One's that owner's manual, some helpful guidance on what to expect from your trustees, and yourself. What I hope the trustees will always remember as they manage the trust. So if it's just different situations. So I thought this was helpful, something that I thought might be good for you. Another question I got is, how do you know if it's your year for client update? You'll get an invitation if it's your year to update. So just once you get the invitation, just register, and then we'll send you your estate planning review worksheet. And those are the main items that I wanted to cover today. Let me make sure I've hit everything. So that was the Purposeful Trust. That's a legacy planning tool where you can actually write things in. Priceless Conversations is where there's specifically designed questions on different topics that we can capture in an audio, video, or Zoom. And then message in a bottle is one of the exercises that I thought was good at one of the conferences I went to. Is think of your beneficiaries. You know, maybe they're down in life. They've got some challenges that they're dealing with. Let's say they're walking on the beach, things are looking down, and then a bottle, you know, kind of washes ashore in front of them, and it's a message from you at that time, and then they're reading it at that point in their life. What would you say to them to kind of pick them up and things that maybe that you had gone through and things that helped you through difficult times? So again, that legacy component resonating with me, resonating with, I think, clients that see that it's more than just the money, that there's lessons, there's values that we want to pass on. In the website, there are different videos on different topics. Somebody asked about the action step portal. There is, I'll have Michelle send you out. There's an instruction sheet. I don't know if we have a actual video on that one because it's pretty straightforward. You'll get an email, and your username is your email, and then you make up your password. So if you forget your password, just do the forget password title, and then you'll have access to the portal. I did do a session back to basics webinar. I probably should do another one this year that just goes over, hey, I'm fuzzy on the different items on the trust, where I'll just go over, if you remember those design templates, kind of laying out again, you know, here are the basic provisions of the trust. This is what this provision is for here. Again, if you find that valuable, let us know. We'll do that. And that's a good way to just kind of refresh you. The other items, the other videos are there when there's more, you're dealing with a disability, you're dealing with a death. These are the items that we go to. If you have clients with minor children, our clients with minor children, if you have guardians or trustees, there's a specific video that's just dealing with that. The main thing for clients with minor children is that I find a lot of times there's a lot of life insurance or money that, okay, if something happens to you, here's the assets, but what should the trustees do with the money? And so we have you do checklists to say, here are things that we want to do. We want to, if you want to incentivize education or study abroad or those types of issues, that's why we have those checklists there. The other videos that are on there, I just do, some of them are a lot shorter. I'm just trying to I get questions from people consistently, so I'll just throw them up there so that they can always go to it if they wanted to know why we recommend having the beneficiary of your IRA, if we want a trust to be listed there. The Secure Act has changed things, okay? So that's why I have the Secure Act explained. We want to make sure, I think we have enough repetitions where, you know, that deserves a program. I say, okay, you have a large IRA. Here's the law. Here are your options on naming your beneficiaries with regard to that. So, you know, basically the bottom line, the Secure Act has limited what was called that stretch out provision for non-spouse beneficiaries. You could leave assets to a non-spouse beneficiary, like an IRA, and they would not have to take that money out. They would take it out over their life expectancy. They would have these actuarial factors. And if the beneficiary was young, we had some clients leave their IRAs to their grandkids. It was a very powerful wealth builder because these IRAs are tax deferred accounts, and if the money doesn't have to be taken out and they're just compounding, this is dramatic. But the Secure Act said, we're done with that. We're limiting it to 10 years for any non-spouse beneficiary. All right. There are some exceptions to that. Okay, so that's why we go through on that program. But again, we've done this when we're going through the funding, but there's tweaks, there's regulations that come out that make me think to maybe filter that out to the client base. Let us know what other videos that you would like to see and address and any other issues. Again, the purpose of this is to be responsive. Question on how do we get a copy of today's presentation? You should have gotten it emailed to you by Michelle, but I will make sure that she did do that, and that there is, I know it'll be on your portal under the annual client meeting. there'll be documents there under the portal as well. But I've got that question. Update on digital assets and crypto. So the biggest update with the digital assets that are out there, and that's something that, that's good, Ken, that you brought that up, is, doing a specific presentation on that. So your crypto accounts, digital account that are out there, a lot of the providers, like maybe a Coinbase account, Coinbase Pro account. The issue that I have initially is funding, all right? So how do we fund those accounts so that when you pass, we're not going through probate? And it's really difficult. We're trying to get trust to be title of these accounts or LLCs. It really just depends on the service provider. I think the more repetitions we get and the more they develop, there's going to give more options. Even a transfer on death designation, I'll take at this point for the crypto side of things. So that's one issue, is the funding of that. So on your asset reports, let us know, okay? If you're not disclosing that, make sure you let us know, because again, when the purpose of the firm, the purpose of what we try to do is that something happens to you, we're not trying to go search for everything. We know where it's at. We know it's in the right place. Okay. And so this is another challenge, is on the crypto side. And this is just cutting edge. And we're trying to get things where these providers will allow us to transfer that to the next person in line. If you have these, if you have the cold storage or items that, these passwords, that if you lose them, that there could be significant assets associated with that. We don't want your passwords. Okay. The critical thing there is that you make sure that whoever you trust can access and know where those types of cold storage or those passwords are at. And so, yes, I mean, that's something that we have to address. And then the other issue I'm getting is the taxation of it. Okay. Because a lot of people are going to be a wake-up call for a lot of people trading in the crypto, is that all these transactions are taxable events. The IRS is all over it. And so there are tax implications with regard to that. And if you have capital gains, there's a lot of people, I know crypto has pulled back lately, but if you had locked in gains, then there's strategies that are out there. I see people, touting charitable remainder trusts. These charitable remainder trusts have been around for many years. We do them. And it's just a strategy that is a way to eliminate capital gains on assets, but it's not like you're getting all of that personally. It's a trust that would be utilized where you would get an income stream. And then when you die, there will be the remainder goes to a beneficiary. There's certain actuarial tables and guidelines and the like, and percentages that need to be paid out. But bottom line, you have to be charitably inclined. And if you are charitably inclined, then that could be a potential tool that you use to minimize capital gains tax. And again, so that's something to think about for future. So again, thank you for bringing those items up. Gets me thinking about that as well. And then there's another question is, can we get all of your crypto clients together for a roundtable? That's something we talked about last year. And that's something that we can gauge interest. So why don't we do this for those of you who are on today? There is on your in the handouts, you should have the evaluation, and the evaluation looks like this. Why don't you put down if you are interested in a crypto roundtable? Because again, this is a new area. I've got information on it. We're working on it. But if someone knows somebody on the inside or can help us, set up and figure out how to, work with them to get things titled to a trust or LLC or different strategies, that would be great. Go ahead and list that on the general comment side of things. And so if I get enough people, we can just do it through Zoom, and we can do that because it is important, okay? Because more and more people are gathering or acquiring these types of assets as well. The other item on the client response form that I would like you to let me know how we did. Let me know what other topics, anything else on the future. If you have a referral, please let us know. That'd be great. The easiest way is to, Michelle can be happy to do it, is once or twice a month, I have scheduled programs where I'll do a live program that goes over for prospective clients. Here's what we do. Here's our process. Here's the key issues. Here are the fees. And if they're interested, they can take the next step. But it's a free, they can learn about estate planning. And that's a great way to just get our name out there as well. We have a client advisory board, okay? And so the client advisory board is a subset of our clients. And that's where I run my sounding board, but it's another client communication tool where not going through all the client base, I'm talking to the clients and we're getting into detailed discussions about issues, about DocuBank, about fees, about different strategies that are out there, process improvements, our website. So if you would like to participate, let us know. I don't know if we still have a waiting list, but let us know. We did it through Zoom. And if we could do it live this year, that would be great. Please put your name and date on there if you're going to do that, and so that we know who you are. So that's the response form. What else do I have? I think those are the main items that I wanted to address. If you have any funding action items, on the side of, and those action items are usually listed in your renewal packet. It could be on the actual asset review report. Hey, we need a copy of your statement. Please send us a copy. Send Jenny or Holly, upload it to your portal. We get notified. That's all you need to do. Okay. If they ask for something, saves us time. Please help us help you on those items. And then that's it. Thanks for coming. And so the next thing that you would come to is if it's your year, you'll get an invitation to the client update program. That'll come out to you. You'll register for that. If any of the education programs that you want to go to, we'll send an email once they come out. Hey, if you're interested, go ahead and register. Also, the next year, if it's not your year update, you don't come to the education program, next year's 2023 reunion. With that being said, I'm going to conclude. Okay, so big picture again, we're waiting on the Senate to tell us what's going on with the tax laws. Once we hear from them, I might do a special kind of bulletin, either through video or just send out a PDF on what they decided to do. No changes have been made yet. We're still under the old tax laws. Okay. House bill got passed. Now it's in the Senate. So once they decide what to do, once they figure it out, and it goes back, and there could be more changes, but we'll give you the update until it actually becomes law. Remember, those elections in the background, the midterms are probably, I bet you they're going to try to delay as much as possible to see how things develop and then do something. Obviously, one side wants to get it in quicker than the other. So again, things consistently change, right? With that being said, thank you for your time. I'll stay on for about another minute or two to see if there's any other questions that are out there. Thank you, everyone. We're in 2022 now, start of a new year, and let's get after it. Bobby Fazy with InSight Law, and again, I'll stay on for about a minute or two, and then we will conclude for today. I had one question from somebody here asked about, can you discuss forced guardianships like we're hearing about in the news for older folks? Do our trusts protect us in some way? So forced guardianships are, a guardianship is a legal proceeding designating someone to take physical control over you. And then the technical word on the next side of it, that's a guardianship, that they decide where you're going to live and are responsible for you, the person. And then there's a conservatorship, which means they're the person dealing with your money, okay, who has control of your money. Oftentimes it can be the same person. And so a forced guardianship is a situation where someone does not have proper legal documents and they become disabled, or there's a question of disability where there is a evidentiary hearing on your mental capacity so that someone else can manage your finances and manage you. So the way that you avoid that is that, number one, is that you put your own estate plan in place to say, hey, if I am disabled, then I don't need to go to court to have someone manage my assets. I've already laid out those instructions to do that, okay? And then the disability panel, if you remember, that was one of the first things I talked about today. The disability panel are the people that you trust to make the decision whether you can manage your own financial affairs. We don't need to go to court, okay? If you want to go to court, it's there, we can do that. But we have the individual, the private way to do it is there's a concern, you notify the law firm, we convene the disability panel, okay? Doctor family combination typically. And then if you are determined to be disabled on that side of things or not able to manage your financial affairs, we take your name off as trustee and put the next person in line on there as trustee of the assets so that you're not sending bills to the wrong people and the like, and we don't need to go to court. So that's the process. There's and then the other thing that helps with regard to the planning that we do is that we're maintaining the plan. So it's not something a set it and forget it. So we're maintaining a relationship. We're making sure that we update your assets so you know if something weird is going on or funny going on with regard to that, or that we have the annual client meeting to update you on this, or client up so that we're staying in touch with you if there is a disability that we should be aware of, okay? And it's part of your estate planning review worksheet. There's a list of questions on the back that we want you, personal questions that we want you to help, like, is there a health concern? Like, please answer those questions for us if any of those apply to you, because that will help. So that's the process. And we haven't had any clients go through any of that. And so there isn't a need for a forced guardianship unless there is no legal documents that are out there, okay? Or unless there's some type of claim, if we do have this plan in place, there's a claim from someone that's saying the people that they chose to manage everything are taking advantage of this of this person. We're going to court to try to trump what they did. I haven't seen a situation like that for our client base, okay? That's where forced guardianships come into play, is where there is an issue of disability and someone is presenting that to an illegal proceeding, a court proceeding, to determine if you can manage your assets and manage yourself. But we don't need to do that if we have some type of, with our process, our maintenance side of things. So probably more than you ever wanted to know, but that's what that's what we deal with. So with that being said, I will hang on for another minute or two, just seeing if there's any other questions that are coming out there. If I didn't get your question answered here, put it on the client evaluation form. Be happy. I read them, we address them. We'll make sure that we get that covered for you. Okay. There's no other questions. I'll just hang on for about another minute and then we'll conclude. Okay, everyone, have a good day. Thank you very much. I'll see you. Good to see everybody.